Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this interesting talk, Understanding and Promoting Pan-Africanism. I am Chirizina Jerere. I am the founder of Nyito Sports Brand, and I am also the chair of the Department of Operations Management at UNISA. I am the co-founder of Fombe Leadership Foundation and also the deputy chair of Fombe Leadership Foundation, a nonprofit organization that is aimed at developing amazing African leaders. And I am entrusted with a very big task to talk about understanding and promoting Pan-Africanism. And this is something that is very dear to my heart, and I'm grateful and looking forward to this interesting talk. I am an African. I was born in Africa in a village called Chitawa Sambando village, in short, TSV. And that village is found in Venda, in the province of Limpopo in South Africa. An interesting topic indeed, Africanism. How do we promote and what is our understanding of this topic? To start with, there's a gentleman called John Hendrik Clark, who wrote a paper entitled Pan-Africanism, a brief history of an idea in the African world. And he wrote a note which reads, Pan, it's a movement not new in the world. This movement existed long before the use of preface pen was part of a group's organization. Any movement by an ethnic group to recover and reclaim their history, culture, and national identity after slavery, war, or migration, forced otherwise, can be called a pan movement. The largest number of these movements existed in the United States, a nation of immigrants. In this country, these movements were mainly historically cultural societies whose objectives was to preserve the history of the United States and the respective history of each immigrant group. Pan-Africanism, one thought of a movement conceived and developed by Africans living outside Africa, was in fact a worldwide movement affecting Africans in every part of the world. An operational definition of Pan-Africanism is long overdue. Generally, we think of it as a 20th century phenomenon. In fact, this was a worldwide movement that used different approaches depending on the political climate in the countries where African people lived in large numbers. In Africa itself, Pan-Africanism was often expressed through armed resistance to slavery and colonialism. There's a need for an operational definition of the former that will explain its many manifestations in different places under different circumstances. All over the world, Africans were fighting to restore what slavery and colonialism had taken away from them. No matter what their circumstances were, their objectives was the same. Slavery and colonialism strained, but did not compromise what Africans believe in. Now, what is the definition thereof of Pan-Africanism? A movement for political union of all Africans. And this is a definition by Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Now, further, digging deep into understanding of Pan-Africanism, according to the AHP Handbook of Intellectual History, the understandings are 1 up to 6. Pan-Africanism is a thought concerning the transcultural relation between African peoples on the continent and African people in the diaspora. Now, there are African people that are in different continents, different countries, and spread all over the world. Now, the issue of Pan-Africanism is aimed at ensuring that all these people of different culture, different nationality, all over the world can relate with one another. That means if an African in South Africa meets another African from another country, they should be like brothers. They should be like sisters. They should be able to relate to one another. They should not discriminate against one another. Secondly, Pan-Africanism is the thought concerning conception of Africa in diasporic consciousness, namely the notion of Africa as ancestral and spiritual of the African diaspora and what that should mean for diasporic identity. So, Africans should be conscious of themselves, regardless of where they find themselves in, because they are of the same ancestral background. And spiritually, they come from the same ancestors that have brought them. In other words, as much as we find Africans in different countries in Africa, they may have the same origin years back. That means their forefathers could be one and the same. Meaning, on the basis of that, they should work together and stand together. Thirdly, Pan-Africanism is the defining of Africa almost entirely as a psychological and spiritual concept, decentering the continent so that Africa flows fluidly into its diaspora so as to create a coherent and navigable Pan-African world with distinct forms of social living and revolutionary philosophies of language, religion, politics, history, and consciousness. In other words, we are Africans. We can relate to one another on different languages. We can relate on religion. We can relate politically, and our history might as well merge as we go back decades and century back. And therefore, because of that, we are therefore one and should live with one another. By living with one another, it doesn't mean that we must not follow the rule of law. In other words, if a Namibian finds him or herself in South Africa, they should be in South Africa legally with all the documents that are needed for them to be in South Africa. On the same note, a South African that finds himself or herself in Nigeria must be there legally and having all the necessary documents that allows him or her to be in Nigeria. However, when a South African is in Nigeria, he or she must not be discriminated against based on the country that he comes from, because he or she is an African and Nigeria is found in Africa. So we should continually relate to one another, love one another as brothers and sisters. Fourthly, Pan-Africanism is an entire philosophy or approach to life in which, in all material production and psychological imaginings, one considers the Pan-African world to be a cultural, spiritual, and political contagious space. Again, as we continue to work together as Africans, we shall therefore share the knowledge, share the means of production, share the resources that we have in Africa in order for the betterment of Africa as a continent. Fifthly, Pan-Africanism is any campaign that comprises coherent and coordinated transcultural, transnational cultural exigencies by peoples of African descent for the liberation of African consciousness from various forms of oppression, I mean to say. Now, as Africans, we have been oppressed. Colonialism has really separated us. It has divided us. It has made two brothers or two sisters to fight one another while the enemy takes over the precious resources that we have in Africa. What a sad story. It is high time that as Africans, we realize that we come from the same root, we come from the same forefathers that have played their role in making sure that we are here, in making sure that we are alive, in making sure that we too can play our role in ensuring that Africa becomes great. 6, Pan-Africanism is any political action in defense of African civilization, which posits African civilization and its attendant philosophies and forms of social living as an anecdotes to the excesses of Western capitalism and imperialism. As Africans and the African continent, which is so rich in natural resources, we unfortunately find ourselves lacking, not having what it's near to us. We have got minerals, we have got gold, we have got so many resources that are right next to us. Yet, we do not benefit as much as we should from such resources. And the reason is because the colonial master have divided us, ensuring that we fight one another while others from other continents, they benefit from the resources that are next door to us. It is so that Pan-Africanism is something that was started to make sure that as Africans, we unite, we stand together, we work together to make sure that we can benefit from all the resources that we have in Africa. You might find that our yachts, our fence, and our houses do not have much gold, but we have got so much gold in Africa. Yet when you go to other continents, you find that there are houses and walls that have got so much gold than what we have as Africans in Africa. It is high time that we stand together, we empower one another, we ensure that we resource one another, regardless of which country in Africa we come from. We work together and ensuring that as Africans, we are stronger, we are empowered, we are enabled, we are knowledgeable, we are skillful, innovative, and producing the best out of the resources that we have. Now, what is then Pan-Africanism in short and summed up? Many movements exist within the framework or the umbrella of Pan-Africanism. And this is a belief that Africans and African descents share a common heritage, history, and destiny. I indicated that as much as we live in different countries in Africa, we have the same heritage. We have the same history. And if we work together, we will have the same destiny. Blacks in Africa and in America should live free of colonial rule and oppression. We have been colonized by the colonizers. And that happened to the detriment of us as Africans. Today, our people have got no jobs. Today, our people are poor. Today, our people are dying of hunger, of AIDS, and many other diseases that are exposed to our people. However, those that were privileged to have the resources, to have the knowledge, to have the skills, it's high time that we start sharing and empowering one another to make sure that as Africans, we are strong, we are enabled and able to do great things. Africanism started with the establishment of a church for freedmen and women, an attempt to escape the discrimination and restrictions at white churches. We are still faced with discrimination, where whites teaches to us that we are inferior and they are superior. And as Africans, we need to be reminded that a human being is not the body. A human being is not the color of the skin. A human being is that who lives inside the body. So therefore, nobody is superior or inferior because of the color of their skin. It's high time we remind ourselves as Africans that if our spirit, our soul is empowered, we are able to do what anybody can do. By the late 19th century, Pan-Africanism morphed into a call for Blacks to return to their ancestral birthplace, Africa, and civilize the native populations. It's high time, Africans, that we realize that we are as much capable as other people from other continents. It's high time we think that what we are able to do can compete on a global stage. It's high time we value what we do as Africans, what we produce in Africa, and we put efforts to make sure that what we produce in Africa is of equal quality compared to what is produced in other continents. Some supporters of Pan-Africanism believe that Blacks in America could never prosper alongside the white population, while others still advocated persistence and fighting for equality. Perhaps the greatest discrimination that is happening in the world could be in our minds. We may be thinking that people of a different color are superior than us, or they are more able than ourselves. And such an idea is not a correct idea, because no human spirit is limited. In fact, the human spirit has got no limit, regardless of the color of the body. So we are as much capable as any other people of any race. How do Jim Crow laws and white violence impact the development of the two different philosophies? Blacks and white are all human beings. They are as much capable of doing what they intend to do. We need to, as Africans, believe that we are well able to produce products and services that contest equally globally. We are no less human than any other race. We need to believe in ourselves as Africans. We need to empower one another. We need to stand together, because divided, we will fall. But if we stand together, we are stronger. Why then Pan-Africanism? Africa is the most resource-rich landmass on the face of the planet. I indicated that Africa has got the resources, natural resources, yet its people are not the full beneficiaries of what comes out of those natural resources. And the reason is because we are divided. And those that have got access to these resources, they are greedy. They are not sharing the resources with other Africans. They are not empowering those that are around them. Instead, they would rather share such resources with other people from other continents. Again, it is very important that our education system teaches us on how to process the raw materials that we have in Africa. Instead of all the time, we must outsource the processing of these raw materials to people from other continents and companies from other continents. Our education system must be geared to making sure that we are well able to process our raw materials into finished products. We must make sure that our factories, the engineers that are running these factories, are people from Africa who are qualified to operate all the machines, who are qualified to innovate and come up with new designs, new machines, new products, and services that the whole world can consume. Secondly, the entire global economic system, capitalism, imperialism, depends on the exploitation of Africa. People from Europe, people from the United States, and many other continents depend on the African continent for the raw materials that we have, that God gave to us. Yet, as Africans, we are taught education that does not help us. We are taught to identify the parts of a locust, parts of a fish. And how does that benefit us? Our education system must be changed to make sure that we are able to calculate, we are able to analyze, we are able to research, we are able to innovate and engineer and operate computer systems, develop softwares that will enable us to be the continent that we wish to be. Thirdly, everywhere African people exist, we are oppressed, even on our own continent. Recently, there are instances of violence, killings, and destroying of resources that we have. The same resources that we are supposed to rely on, the same resources that our children can utilize to make sure that Africa becomes a better continent, we are destroying them. The enemy gets to us to destroy our own resources. We need to stand together so that the oppressor has no chance in dividing us. When we are divided, the enemy takes our resources away. Fourthly, liberating Africa advances the liberation of African people. We need to be liberated to make sure that we are as free in our continent and in the world and proud of being an African. We shouldn't be ashamed of who we are. Firstly, we did not choose to be Africans. We did not choose the color of our skin. We did not choose the shapes and the stature of ourselves. So let us be proud, because we are as capable of doing great things as much as other people from other continents can do. What then caused Pan-Africanism? People of African descent from around the world believe that all Africans have a bond with each other. Their slogan was Africa for Africans. So we are Africans, and we should be proud of being Africans. And we must have sense of ownership of our continent, because we are the ones that were born in Africa and live in Africa, and should therefore stand together, work together, believe in each other, never doubt each other, not have fear, not retreating, not surrendering, and not even giving up on our dreams, our ambitions of better Africa for all of us. Pan-Africanism has many different strengths. One, a force for global partnership and materialism. We must have material because we have got raw materials in Africa. When we partner with other continents, it shouldn't be for us to be losing more than what we should. We should all be beneficiaries of those that we are partnering with. Not us on the losing side of more of our resources and gaining very little from what our partners are bringing on the table. An expression of African agency, African solutions for African problems. In order for us to solve our problems, we are the ones that are aware of our problems. We are the ones that see the problems on a daily basis. So we cannot depend on other people from other continents to come and resolve our problems, because they are not as much aware of our problems as we do. And we are the ones that can come up with relevant, responsive solutions to our problems. Only when we are united and working together. A movement for emancipation, decolonization, and peace. There are always wars and divisions and killings in Africa, because as Africans, we are fighting amongst ourselves instead of working together and ensuring that we make Africa great in our own time. A project for African regional integration. There has been proposition for one currency in Africa. And ensuring that we are integrated. Economically, we should have multinational companies working together without restrictions, making sure that we are able to benefit from what each country is able to offer. However, our boundaries are a limitation to what we can achieve. We need to move towards free trade. We need to make sure that policies are enabling for people to move freely from one country to another, legally so, in order to make sure that we are empowering each other as Africans. There are a billion reasons to believe in Africa. One is because Africans have got what it takes to compete on a global arena. Secondly, Africans are the best candidates to solve African problems because they are very much aware of these problems. With empowerment through education, through training, through work integrated learning, we as Africans can compete. We can produce the best products, best services that can contest on a global scale. We have got leaders that have made waves globally. And they have demonstrated that an African is well able to lead, is well able to excel, is well able to do quality things. In South Africa, we do have our global icon, the late Nelson Mandela, who has excelled in negotiation, who has excelled in leading the country, in making sure that we can reconcile, we can work together. And there are people such as Mr. Dangote, who's the richest man in Africa, who's well able to produce products that can be exported from Africa to other continents. And so there has been demonstration that an African is well able. We are privileged to have birthed the richest person on earth, Elon Musk, who was born in South Africa, in Pretoria, and has went on to innovate and come up with great products, such as cars and rockets, and many other services that he has produced. So that means Africa is rich not only in resources, natural resources, it's also rich in human resources. Africa, it's high time that we believe that an African is well able to do great things. Football-wise, which is something that has come back, and people are able to go back to stadium and support their soccer teams. We have got Sadio Mane, who has demonstrated to the world that he's a world-class kind of a player. We have produced so many other soccer players. that have competed on a global scale. So Africa is alive with possibilities. We have got what it takes. On that note, I want to close this presentation by saying, I thank you for taking your time to listen to the topic, understanding and promoting Pan-Africanism. As Africans, we have been oppressed, we have been divided, we have been made to believe that we are less of human beings than other people from other continents, than other people of different races. But it's high time that we believe in ourselves, that we are equally human to other people of different race, coming from different continents. It is high time that as Africans, we realize that the opportunity of a lifetime that we have been given to live in Africa, we must utilize it to the best of our abilities. We have human resources. We have got natural resources. We have got beautiful nature. We have got beautiful atmospheres. We have got beautiful countries. We have got systems that are in place that we can utilize to start there and making sure that we achieve great things. There are people in Nigeria already. We have got cars that we have produced in Africa. And in South Africa, we have got brands that are competing on a global scale. We are capable Africans. We must utilize the systems that are in place already to innovate and come up with best ways of solving our problems. We cannot keep on outsourcing the resolutions to our problems. Young people must stand together, work together, and utilize their lifetime that they have in order to making sure that they come up with products and services that the world can envy. As I said right at the beginning, I am Chirizina Njarere, the founder of Nyito Sports Brand, a brand that is here